All right, guys. So we got through as many Spider-Man movies as we could. I watched the majority. I watched Spider-Man 1, 2, 3, the Amazing Spider-Man 2, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I remember the Amazing Spider-Man 1. I watched that about a few months ago. I've watched the Tom Holland Spider-Man too many times to count. An uncomfortable amount of times to count, actually, from rewatches. And I went to see it twice. I went to see Far From Home twice. I want to say, and I don't regret it. Obviously, one of my more enjoyed movie experiences. So while we get into that, anything you got to say about just in general, like how you feel just watching Spider-Man?
It was just always been like probably one of my favorite characters as far as superheroes go. I mean, growing up, I have pictures of myself in a Spider-Man costume. I mean, I used to live in the damn thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I got stories forever about Spider-Man. I remember the web shooters growing up. That shot the foam out. I mean, it was. I have so many memories.
Never got those to work.
No, they would break immediately.
Yeah,
they were never very good. But there was just such a memorable character. It's a character you bring up, and almost everybody's gonna know Spider-Man or something. So. It's hard to not like the character. There's been so many iterations, and there's so much to like about each version. They all bring something to the table. So I'm really excited just to talk about it, honestly, and to deep dive into these movies.
Yeah, for sure. So I wrote some notes. Just trying to get my rankings as good as I possibly could. And we can start off right from the Sam Raimi trilogy, man. How did you feel about Spider-Man 1? We were, 2-3 years old when it first came out. I don't remember too much.
I don't remember it, obviously, as I was just I was a kid, but my mom actually told me something about my dad bringing me to see the original Spider-Man movie when it came out. So, obviously, I wouldn't have remembered it. We have said 3, 4 at the oldest, so there was never a reason I could have remembered that. But I remember watching it again a few years after I'd grown up, and it's definitely... It used to scare me a little bit. The Green Goblin was honestly, he's actually pretty scary. We obviously weren't into the thing yet where they censor a lot of stuff. So, I mean, the movie was very out there as far as how they handled it. And it's a memorable movie. I mean, it started all of this. This is the first live-action movie, I should say, of the character Spider-Man. So, it really set the standard to go. I mean, Tobey Maguire had a lot of more memorable scenes and moments in there. I mean... The Spider-Man, him turning into Spider-Man was interesting. The spider bite, the way that it's handled, seeing the DNA change and all that, and then he's waking up and he's totally different.
Yeah.
This happens overnight.
Yeah, which is, I think, definitely the better one out of
Oh, yeah, definitely transformation-wise.
Translation-wise, definitely one of the better ones. What I think they did very, very well, and the Tobey Maguire in entirety was the villains. I think the villains were... highlighted. They were very highlighted. If you didn't like Tobey Maguire, you for sure like Willem Dafoe. You for sure like Alfred Molina.
100%.
They were staples.
They stood out.
They stood out a lot. And you don't really sympathize with Green Goblin at all. You just don't. He's going through identity crisis, going through a mental lapse, maybe even. But you just can't reason with him.
And it was greed. I mean, that's simply what it was. I mean, he wants this military contract, and he can't get his formula to work. And so what does he do? Instead of going back to formula, listening to his co-scientist, the guy that runs the place with him, he says, "Screw that, I'm going to do it myself."
Yeah,
and this leads exactly into what happens. I mean, everything that happens to Norman Osborn is done by his
own wrongdoing.
Yeah,
and he 100% deserves it, and nobody can feel bad for him. The performance of Willem Dafoe is like nowadays. You got that performance, which we got a good amount of it, and obviously from No Way Home. But if you got that today, they would never have killed him off. You don't kill off actors like that. But in the 2000s, it's easy to do it. You don't know if you're getting a second movie. You don't know if you're getting
there was no universe.
Chance. There's no universe. There's no multiverse. There's no cop outs. There's nothing like that. It's definitely just, all right, this is the story that you're given. This is the movie. This is over the course of X amount of days, weeks, months, whatever, and that's what you're gonna get. And I was cool with it. I loved Spider-Man 1 way more than I thought I did.
Yeah, it definitely is a lot more memorable when I rewatched it. I watched it a couple weeks ago, and it's definitely a lot more memorable than I would have remembered it as a kid.
Yeah,
sitting through and watching it, it's an easy watch. There's nothing about it that drags out to me. It's quick and to the point. They're not trying to drag out any of the specific storylines. Yep. And there's a lot of memorable scenes, and even in the original one, like I said, I mean, one of my favorite scenes in there is the burning building.
Yes.
You go in there, Green Goblin is hidden. Yep, and he's screaming and yelling.
I forgot about that part. Yes. I was like, oh, this is the Green Goblin at the pop. And I just died laughing.
How cool it was to see him throw the pumpkin bombs that turn into the razors. Obviously that cut Spider-Man, which leads into Green Goblin finding out who Spider-Man is. It's just a very memorable scene for me. And like I said, it's one of the parts that scared me as a kid. The screaming, the jump scare of him being the lady that was in the fire was just outstanding.
And then it has the cuts on his suit, and then you see him doing this pose, and it's the cuts all up his arm through his face. And it's just one of those moments where it's it's perfect. And like this is a suit. Like this is not CGI. This is just a suit.
This is something he's genuinely
actually in a spandex suit, and it's uncomfortable, I'm sure. And you know, Toby did a great job. A lot of people talk about how old he was. It wasn't even the oldest Spider-Man that actually started. That started at the first film. Like Andrew Garfield was actually older. So
and that's funny that
stop talking about how old he was. Let's just appreciate Tobey Maguire for what he was.
I mean,
he was our first Spider-Man.
Exactly.
First Spider-Man.
And you could take and I think that's a thing too where it's revisionist history. You know, that's simply what it is. Is people got Tom Holland and they were like, oh, well, every other Spider-Man sucks.
Yeah.
You know, this is
but
the
you
perfect
don't have to do that.
You don't. You could appreciate. Like, that's why I said it even in the beginning, where you could appreciate every single iteration of Spider-Man. They all do something well,
really.
And like I said, that's why we're gonna get into that. It was just what you could really take away.
Spider-Man 1, definitely a classic. I'm gonna be honest, definitely a classic. I have it higher on my list than I thought I would. I had it. I don't think my top 5. If I did have my top 5, it was 5th. I'm pretty sure I didn't, and I rewatched it. I'm like, I love this movie.
That's a great spot for a movie like that. To be the first iteration of a character and
the best
to compete with all the other ones that we've gotten since then. I mean, that's 5 is not a bad spot.
Yeah. Spider-Man 2. What a jump in everything. In terms of look, in terms of feel, in terms of the pace, in terms of even the action. Even the action looks a little bit smoother and better in the moments and the takes that they have. It's just like it's just an upgrade in general. And if Willem Dafoe got this presentation, probably would have been the best Spider-Man ever. Realistically, but the look of it is it's such a different movie. It's literally just an entirely different like feel to the movie, and it was a major upgrade. I think it was like 2 years apart. Not even.
Yeah, and it's pretty rare to see movies take that jump and where everything gets better. Mm-hmm. Nothing about this movie suffers. Everything they did right in the first one, they amplified times 10.
Yeah,
this is considered to be one of the greatest comic book movies ever made. For a movie to be made in 03 or 04 and be considered that all these years later, I mean, everything is so well done in this movie. You finally get that balance, which I love how they show where Toby or Peter can't handle that balance.
Yeah,
he suffers tremendously in his personal life because he's Spider-Man.
Yeah,
which I love that contrast. I've enjoyed that about the character where he is just a normal guy. He is struggling like everybody else, just like all of us. But he also has the burden of being the superhero that defends New York. So that's like one of my favorite things about Spider-Man 2 is they show just how hard that can be.
Yep, and it's not as quotable and as memeable as like 1 and 3 are.
Yeah,
but it's definitely a serious tone, and like you said, it's going through stuff that people go through every day. It's hard to balance life. Mm-hmm. Imagine balancing life. He was broke, trying to make his relationship good, trying to save the world.
Go to college.
It's his world. That's his world. A small city, compared to the outside world. Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, literally what he is. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to even just be that and then try to take care of the things that you got going on with your personal life, relationships. And even mentally, physically is a burden on him. And I think that Spider-Man 2 gets the praise that it deserves. And nobody has it really low. Alvin Molina was really, really good as Doc Ock. Even like the suit that he had, obviously like the way it looked great realistically for the time that it was. And even when they're fighting on the clock, like that's some of the best work that they've done.
Oh yeah,
one of the best transitions ever.
Well, I was just about to say, so Spider-Man 2 definitely to me has one of the best transitions in a superhero movie. I mean, the shot of Spider-Man swinging and then it phases into Doc Ock's sunglasses. He's watching that. Amazing. That transition is awesome. It's just Sam Raimi though for you. I mean, that's always been his thing. He likes to try new stuff out. He likes for his movies to stand out, especially visually.
Yeah, that's
always been his thing.
He killed it in Spider-Man.
So yeah, Spider-Man 2 is definitely awesome. It has one of the most memorable scenes once again of any superhero movie. Mm-hmm. The train scene. Everybody knows the train scene.
Yep. And I think that's what helps with the whole like idea of this is actually some action that we needed. Yeah. Like I have to actually save hundreds of people. Right?
Yeah, well, and
this is not even just the people on the train, the people that are around the train. People are around.
That are on the ground. Yeah,
it's just so much of a burden and so much that has actually like went into that scene. And obviously, like, he looks his age, unfortunately. That's what people like.
Yeah.
Toby looks his age. He looks older. And when he's doing, like, the struggle, you think, like, one of the, like, craziest faces. But it was a struggle face. And and Toby did it great in a lot of parts. And that was one of his best scenes. And then when they're carrying him around, like, he's just a kid.
Yeah.
Like, your secret's safe with us. And that was something that he struggled with a lot. Like, keeping the secret away from the public. And the fact that this entire train said, "Did you say that in life? We won't tell those stories.
Yeah.
And we will not burn your bridge. We will not do this to you. Like this.
You protected us for so long,
exactly.
right? So we're going to pay that back. And like I said, that's obviously, like I said, that's just such a cool scene to see that he saves these people and they protect his identity, and they even stand up to Doc Ock for him. Obviously, they don't do much to stop him.
You gotta go through me,
right?
All right,
literally,
this way.
All of them get thrown to the side. So but that is such a cool scene to see. Like he passes out from it. To see this guy who is obviously such a strong character. To see that he exerts himself past what he could even handle to stop this full-blown speeding train.
Yeah, that was definitely
super cool. And
definitely a humanized moment for Spider-Man. It was like nobody ever seen him physically exhausted.
Exactly.
It was like he just swings around, does his job, and leaves. They never see that.
And there's some really cool small parts too, man. I mean, between Harry finding out that Spider-Man is Peter Parker.
Yes.
That is a crazy reveal.
That was a tough scene, and that's when Harry really starts to turn into Hobgoblin and whatnot. Yeah. Actually realizing what Peter had done. If he was in a fight with his dad, and he blamed Peter. He blamed Peter for a long time, even literally until the third movie.
Until the end.
15 minutes. Yeah. He blamed Peter to the very end, and he was like, "You killed my dad." And Peter switches up. He tells him, like, your dad loved you. If anything, he loved you. Mm-hmm. And then he switched up, obviously, and told him that he didn't. And then eventually he told him again that he did. But that was definitely one of James Franco's, like, best, like, some of his best work, because out of 1 through 3, like,
the second one was definitely where he got to shine the most. Where he's a more important side character as compared to the first one and the third one, where they kind of But and there's, like I said, and then there's even like the two other scenes that I really like in there is Aunt May talking when Peter goes and tells Aunt May that he's the reason for Uncle Ben's death. Mm-hmm. He takes responsibility because she blames herself for telling him to go pick him up, and then he tells her, "No, listen, I had the chance. I could have stopped this thief, and I didn't. I wanted revenge because the guy didn't pay me." And it cost Uncle Ben his life. And, and it really realistically was either of their fault.
Yeah,
it was random chance. Mm-hmm. It's not, Peter could have caused something worse if he had caught the thief or whatever, And it's not either their fault, but then to see them accept that, and then it goes back later in the movie. He goes to see Aunt May again, and like he hadn't seen her for a while after he told her.
Yeah. And
she talks him back into being Spider-Man. He had given up Spider-Man at a point. He couldn't do it anymore. He gives up being Spider-Man in this movie, which is also really cool, which we'll touch on. This does happen in another movie, which is funny, but it's handled better in Spider-Man 2 than it is in the later one.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you get to see him actually be Peter Parker again.
Yeah, exactly. And that was a good thing because Aunt May, like, she delivered in every scene. Like, that's obviously the best Aunt May.
Oh, easily.
She does her thing. She is the caring, mother. Like, she is a motherly to him, and she treats him as her own. And his problem was that he didn't rely on her as much as he probably should have, because Uncle Ben was his crutch. Mm-hmm. And when he lost him, he lost himself a little bit. And she knew that, and she didn't push at him. She didn't blame him for nothing. She didn't make it seem like it was his fault. Mm-hmm. She took blame for that, and then it helps that, like, with grief, you shouldn't take blame for anything.
No, at all.
And because, like, it's random chance. Mm-hmm. And then, to even just backpack off that, we get to Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
And the whole storyline is that this prisoner escapes, which is it comes out to be a Sandman. It's like, he killed Uncle Ben. He had the gun in his hand.
Which, it just feels so convoluted.
It didn't have to. We didn't need that in the slightest. We didn't need it in any way possible. But they integrated it.
Convoluted is just like one of many words to describe Spider-Man 3. It is, in my opinion, easily the worst of the Spider-Man films. I feel bad for Sam Raimi. I feel like he really lost all control in this movie. I think at this point it was a money grab at this point. They could have easily ended Spider-Man 2 and never made another one, and it would have been the perfect send-off for the character. He gets the girl. Mm-hmm. He's finally happy in his life. He's found the balance. And it could have swung off into the sunset and left it there. Mm-hmm. Spider-Man 3 takes every single thing that happened in the second movie,
and
balls it up, and throws it away.
Yeah, like, let's redo it, but make it worse.
That 100%. I mean, everything, the plot just so quickly, except the guy breaks out. Mm-hmm. Obviously, this turns into Sandman. The Venom symbiote just randomly falls from the sky. There's no storyline to it. It's just a meteorite that hits the ground. Yep. Just so happens to land right next to Peter Parker.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Is there some cool parts? Sure. I mean, the symbiote suit thing is cool. Obviously, anytime you see black suit Spider-Man, it's memorable. Yeah, it is such a cool thing.
Definitely, I mean, I know a lot of people don't love it, but I loved it. I loved how it looked. I loved how. I mean, it's a memeable thing, and he had memeable moments when he actually got the symbiote, and he like
just dancing around.
She's like feeding him cookies or whatever.
Yes,
he's like,
got any nuts?
Nuts? Like, I can make something. Yeah, go do that. And I'm like, oh, I guess like this.
Look at him when he's walking around, he's snapping at every girl he sees. Like, come on, he hits
was,
a little dance. Like, come on,
dude. And he comes out with the suit, and I'm like, he got the all black suit on.
Oh
and,
my god,
it was a funny movie, but if we're talking about enjoyableness and actual like, this is the last one, and, and if we know, so like the trilogy is usually like that's what we get. Unfortunate, the plot is all over the place. We're getting all type of stuff going on. We getting Harry having this conflict again, and it doesn't hit the same. Now he finally turns to the Hobgoblin because he finds his dad's stuff. He throws something through the mirror, and the mirror breaks.
It's like the knife he was going to stab Spider-Man with.
And then it goes off through to the lair, and it was a good visual. It was actually a good visual to see the lair and how everything was set up, and then when they showed the Hobgoblin mask, when they actually go past it, and it's like, okay, this is gonna be big, and if they don't do it now, if they got a fourth movie coming out,
they could always do it then.
No,
that's really just like what ends up feeling like what it is that it felt like they wanted a fourth movie, and then when this movie bombs, they were like, oh well, all that stuff that we thought was going to work in the fourth one was just not going to happen. I mean, everything is so shoehorned in so quickly. Too many villains is always going to be the killer. You don't have enough time in a movie to make okay, maybe No Way Home, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But in this movie, the characters are shoehorned in just way too quickly. Sandman and Hobgoblin could have been enough on their own, even if Hobgoblin was just a side villain. Sandman could have been enough on his own.
Yeah.
The introduction of Venom and of Eddie Brock
that's
forced.
what really kills it, I think.
Topher Grace, I love Topher Grace, 70 Show. He's got another couple of things. Didn't like his Eddie Brock whatsoever. I didn't like anything to do with.
He's a great hater, though.
Hater. I mean, he's the hater.
Yeah.
I mean, the scene of him in the church praying for Peter's death because he got him fired is still so funny to me. Like you don't hate him that bad.
Yeah, bro. But his prayers got answered.
Literally, he gets the Venom suit.
He gets the Venom suit.
And then even I hate to say I love Bryce Dallas Howard. She's an amazing actress. She's an even better director. Did they need to put Gwen Stacy in the third movie out of nowhere? Probably not. She's an important love interest, but you already have MJ, who is Spider-Man's second hater. So, does he need another love interest when he's already deeply in love with his second greatest hater? Probably not.
Definitely didn't. But Bryce Dallas Howard, not enough can be said about her. She's one of the staples in the last 20 years, realistically.
Yeah, she's awesome.
For a woman, literally, she kills every time she's on screen. When I seen her on screen, I forgot it was her, because
she looks
a whole different.
Oh yeah, it's a whole
but she looked the same at the same time.
Yeah.
So just 20 years ago, that was her one of her biggest roles at the time. Spider-Man 3, unfortunately, she was a waste of opportunity, and she was a good actor then, great actor now. Like you said, the addition of Venom really what kills it. I was fine with Sandman and Hobgoblin. And the whole, it's emotional. Sandman's emotional. He's the first villain that you actually reason with.
Because he's not even evil.
It's not his fault. Yeah, he becomes a Sandman. He just becomes it, and he's
only doing it to help his daughter. He's not doing it because
with the necklace,
the locket
in his fingers. That's the only way he could hold it because it would go through him.
Yeah, man,
it was definitely.
They definitely could have did a lot with had they just done that. Like I said. If you read the articles, if you look it up, it was strictly Sony. Yeah. Sony came in and said, hey, listen, Venom is a popular character right now. We need him in the next movie. And you could just tell that they didn't know what they wanted to do with Venom. And all that side stuff, like I said, it feels so forced. I just don't even like that version of Venom. He's as skinny as Spider-Man, which is never the case. Venom towers over Spider-Man. That's the whole point. He's supposed to be scary. He's supposed to be intimidating, and he's not to me at all. He just looks like black suit Spider-Man with sharp teeth.
Yeah, if they never gave Spider-Man the symbiote suit and waited till he defeated Venom, and then they
could have been like a cliffhanger.
Might have been different. Might have ended up having something different going on there. But the PlayStation game that actually came out, was pretty interesting because it's some of the best sound bites and some of the best
It's definitely probably the most memorable Spider-Man story.
Because there's so much going on. So much going on.
I really loved the Spider-Man PS4 game. I guess I'll say PS4. It was such an enjoyable experience. The storyline to me is one of the best Spider-Man stories told throughout all the media. I love that they pick up with a veteran Spider-Man. He's been doing this for years now at this point. He's not... You're not learning the ropes with him. You're not seeing the origin or anything like that. He's already into it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, some of the scenes in that game are so memorable to Spider-Man fans. I mean, obviously the most important being the introduction of the Sinister Six. I mean,
that's something that you could put right into a movie and people will love it.
Oh,
and
easy.
we've been waiting on that for so long, and it's been teased. It's been teased in every single iteration of Spider-Man. And Tobey's, it was teased, and we're supposed to get it. And we got almost every villain teased in some type of way, and we didn't get the fourth movie. And it's hard to expect 4 movies out of one character.
It is. Guy. And that's even kind of why it's shocking, like I said, when we get down into the Tom Holland movies, the fact that he's going to be playing the character past 3 movies. Because I don't expect a character, but he'll be the first. Exactly. I don't expect these characters to get more than 3 movies. You got to think the time between these movies. How much more story can you tell, you know, and stuff like that. Yep. So, I mean, it sucks, like I said, that Tobey went out on such a bad movie, because I feel like that's really what hurts the legacy of the original Spider-Man trilogy, is how bad the Spider-Man 3 movie was.
It kills it. It really does, because if that movie does, let's just say it does exist, and we take all of Venom stuff out, and we actually don't make MJ hate him for being Spider-Man. You know, she accepted the fact that
he was Spider-Man. At the end of the second movie, that's what I'm saying.
She was cool with it, and we ended with Hobgoblin's death, which is Harry's death, and he's mourning over his friend, which would obviously affect him because he hurt his friend, you know. And some of his last words to his friends, even though it was positive stuff, they fight alongside each other, it was mostly negative. He told him his father didn't love him. He told him, like, you know, this is all your fault. This is you're a disgrace. You're a disappointment. Nobody likes you. Nobody wants you.
Nobody wants you around.
Yeah, and even though that wasn't him, that wasn't a real Peter talking. It still is.
It still carries that weight.
We did not need from our protagonist.
No, we know.
And from the first and second movie, it's one of the biggest drop offs in any superhero movie, let alone a movie in general. And everything's just a drop off.
Yeah,
I
agree. I said everything. I said to go from the first one, then upgrade everything in the second one, then to downgrade every single thing in the third one.
It's like you would have thought it wasn't Sam Raimi doing it.
No, it didn't feel like it. That's why I feel like he gets such a bad rap for it. He doesn't deserve it. He's such a great director. He has such a good vision when he makes his movies. Sony really, really did him the worst way possible with that.